Now, as we move forward and create more textures on a single object, it's really important to understand how the polygon tags work. Now, we quickly created one in the last video for this particular selection, and what that allows us to do is basically very easily go ahead and select just those particular polygons. So if we want to re-edit them, resurface them, and so on. It's a great way to work. However, they can go a lot farther than that and are actually really important to understand for when we have multiple surfaces. So the first thing you need to understand is that you always want to deselect that. Just click off of it before you start creating others. Okay? And what that's going to allow us to do is isolate particular areas within the same model that we want different surfaces. So let's do an Alt-O, and actually let's select our bottle real quick. Alt-O to fit everything to view, or Option-O. Okay? And I'm just going to zoom in on this one view here, and we're going to reselect the cap, and I'm going to make this a little bit more specific than we did earlier. So we'll come up here to our selection, choose a square selection, and I want to make sure that only select visible elements is turned off. So we select all the way through like we had done before. And just so you can see this, let's make it a little bit larger. And we'll come right down here, and we'll select that cap again. Okay? With it, selection, set selection, and now I have another polygon tag, and I will call this cap. Okay? So that's good. That's what we want to do. The next thing we want to do, as we build our cool looking bottle, is come over here, and we want to select these polygons on the inside. And remember, I'm in polygon mode here. Okay? But I'm going to do a loop selection, so I'll press U and then L, and I'll do loop selection. I can hold the Shift key and then select the rings just below and on top. Okay, we'll do another selection, set selection, but before I do, let's make sure that that polygon tag is unselected, otherwise it's going to add to it. So deselect, go back to your NURBS, which is your original model, select, set selection. Okay, so just be careful of that trap, and then we're going to call this label. So now we actually have multiple materials isolated for the selected polygons. Okay, so you're building a car. One polygon tag could be the headlights, another could be the paint, another could be the windshield, and so on. And that's essentially what we've done here. You can always select and hide others, which is very nice. But it also is going to allow us to apply different materials for it as well. So let's do that. Let's deselect this one. Now let's come up here and say File, New Material. Let's double click it. And we're going to call this label. And for the color, we're going to select a texture. Click this guy. And in your images folder, there's a bottle label. And it's just going to put the path in there. Okay, so it's just a 9 down soda rather than 7-Up. And we've got our material made. We can go in later and worry about any specular reflections and so on. Right now, we just want the flat image. Okay. Now to apply this, you can do this a little bit differently. We're actually going to take this and drop it right into our model here. See? Drop it right here like that, and it drops that tag right there. Okay. We don't want the projection to be UV. We actually want it to be cylindrical, but it's applying to the whole bottle. And let me turn off the ground real quick, and we do a quick render. You can see that the whole bottle is getting that surface. That's not what we want. Makes sense though, because we've added it to the entire bottle set here. So how does that work? Well, let's select the label tag like that. Okay. And if you look, the name of it is label. You know, if you labeled it center bottle, mid polygons, whatever you wanted to name it, remember that, because when you come here to the texture tag, over here the material set to label, that's what we named it. So how do we apply that? Take this tag and drag it right down into selection. And if you notice right there in layout, it applies only to that particular material tag. Okay, so that's how you've assigned that material to that part of the bottle. Okay, now you can see the clear area is now rendering through like it was before. Okay, but the next thing is, how do we shape that? Right now it's kind of repeating and it's just all over the place. Well, that's this guy right here. This is the Use Texture tool. Okay, and what I can do with this, because I've mapped cylindrically, is rotate. You can see it right there. See I'm rotating on there? I can also go in here for this particular texture tag, and for this material that is, and I don't want to tile it. Okay, turn that off. If you can see, it was tiling. Okay, we're not doing tiling, so we have just one label on there. Then I can take my scale tool, and again, this is with the use texture tool, and I can scale that up. Take the move tool and move it down. Go back to rotate and maybe rotate it to face us a little bit better. Let's do a quick render, Command or Control R. And there's our label on the bottle. Okay, so it's mapped cylindrically all the way around because we had selected the polygons. And then we put that tag in that material in our Object Manager and our Attributes Manager. And now we can go back and just make any adjustments we want to this label, make it a little more luminous, give it a little reflection, whatever else, if we had bump maps and so on. But now that is applied on there. Okay, so we'll save the scene as an incremental. We'll zoom out a little bit, put our floor back on. Now let's move on to the next video and we'll enhance the cap some more with some bump maps.